and in which there are trees bearing frankincense or yielding pepper berries and lumps of myrrh, nor would, as a foetida, be found only in the stalks growing in Cyrene, but everything would be of the same sort, and produced in the soil of all countries. It is the inclination of the firmament and the force of the sun as it draws nearer or recedes in its course, that makes these diversities such as we find them in different countries and places, through the nature of the soil and its juices. And not only in the case of the things mentioned, but also in that of sheep and cattle. These diversities would not exist if the different properties of the soils and the juices were not qualified by the power of the sun. 14. For instance, there are in Boeotia the rivers Cephisus and Melas, in Lucania the Crathis, in Troy the Xanthus, and certain springs in the country of the Clazomenians, the Erythraeans, and the Laodiceans. When sheep are ready for breeding at the proper season of the year, they are driven every day during the season to those rivers to drink, and the result is that, however white they may be, they beget in some places whity brown lambs, in other places grey, and in others black as a raven. Thus the peculiar character of the liquid entering their body produces in each case the quality with which it is imbued. Hence it is said that the people of Ilium gave the river Xanthus its name, because reddish cattle and whity brown sheep are found in the plains of Troy near that river. 15. Deadly kinds of water are also found, which run through soil containing a nauseous juice, and take in its poisonous quality. For instance, there is said to have been a spring at Terracina, called the spring of Neptune, which caused the death of those who thoughtlessly drank from it. In consequence, it is said that the ancients stopped it up. At Crobs, in Thrace, there is a lake which causes the death not only of those who drink of it, but also of those who bathe in it. In Thessaly there is a gushing fount of which sheep never taste, nor does any sort of creature draw near to it, and close by this fount there is a tree with crimson flowers. 16. In Macedonia, at the place where Euripides is buried, two streams approach from the right and left of his tomb and unite. By one of these, travellers are in the habit of lying down and taking luncheon, because its water is good. But nobody goes near the stream on the other side of the tomb, because its water is said to be death-dealing. In Arcadia there is a tract of land called Nonacris, which has extremely cold water trickling from a rock in the mountains. This water is called water of the Styx, and no vessel, whether of silver, bronze, or iron, can stand it without lying to pieces and breaking up. Nothing but a mule's hoof can keep it together and hold it, and tradition says that it was thus conveyed by Antipater through his son Iolaus into the province where Alexander was staying, and that the king was killed by him with this water. 17. Among the Alps in the kingdom of Cottius there is a water those who taste of which immediately fall lifeless. In the Faliscan country on the Via Campana in the Campus Cornetus is a grove in which rises a spring, and there the bones of birds and of lizards and other reptiles are seen lying. Some springs are acid, as at Lyncestus, and in Italy in the Velian country, at Tyana in Campania, and in many other places. These, when used as drinks, have the power of breaking up stones in the bladder, which form in the human body. 18. This seems to be due to natural causes, as there is a sharp and acid juice contained in the soil there, which imparts a sharpness to these springs as they issue from it. And so, on entering the body, they dispose of all the deposits and concretions due to the use of other waters which they find in the body. Why such things are broken up by acid waters we can see from the following experiments. If an egg is left for some time in vinegar, its shell will soften and dissolve. Again, if a piece of lead, which is very flexible and heavy, is put in a vase and vinegar poured over it, and the vase covered and sealed up, the lead will be dissolved and turn into white lead. 19. On the same principle, copper, which is naturally more solid, will disperse and turn into verdigris if similarly treated. So also a pearl. Even rocks of lava, which neither iron nor fire alone can dissolve, split into pieces and dissolve when heated with fire and then sprinkled with vinegar. Hence, since we see these things taking place before our very eyes, we can infer that on the same principle even patients with a stone may, in the nature of things, be cured in like manner by means of acid waters, on account of the sharpness of the potion. 20. Then there are springs in which wine seems to be mingled, like the one in Paphlagonia, the water of which intoxicates those who drink of the spring alone without wine. The Aquians in Italy and the tribe of the Medulli in the Alps have a kind of water which causes swellings in the throats of those who drink it. 21. In Arcadia is the well-known town of Clitor, in whose territory is a cave with running water which makes people who drink of it abstemious. At this spring there is an epigram in Greek verses inscribed on stone to the effect that the water is unsuitable for bathing and also injurious to vines, because it was at this spring that Melampus cleansed the daughters of Proteus of their madness by sacrificial rites, and restored those maidens to their former sound state of mind. The inscription runs as written below: Swain, if by noontide thirst thou art oppressed, when with thy flocks to Clitor's bounds dost heed, take from this fount a draught and grant a rest to all thy goats the water nymphs beside, but bath not in't when full of drunken cheer, lest the mere vapour may bring thee to bane. Shun my vine-hating spring, Melampus, here. From madness once watched Proteus' daughters sane, and although offscouring here did hide, when they from Argus came to rugged Arcady. 22. In the island of Zea is a spring, of which those who thoughtlessly drink lose their understanding, and an epigram is cut there to the effect that a draught from the spring is delightful, but that he who drinks will come dull as a stone. These are the verses: This stone sweet streams of cooling drink doth drip, but stone his wits become who doth it sip. 23. At Susa, the capital of the Persian kingdom, there is a little spring, those who drink of which lose their teeth. An epigram is written there, the significance of which is to this effect, that the water is excellent for bathing, but that taking as drink it knocks out the teeth by the roots. The verses of this epigram are, in Greek, as follows: Stranger, you see the waters of a spring, in which 'tis safe for men their hands to lave, but if the weedy basin entering, you drink of its unpalatable wave, your grinders tumble out that selfsame day, from jaws that orphaned sockets will display. 24. There are also in some places springs which have the peculiarity of giving fine singing voices to the natives, as at Tarsus in Magnesia and in other countries of that kind. Then there is Zama, an African city, which King Juba fortified by enclosing it with a double wall, and he established his royal residence there. 20 miles from it is the walled town of Ismuk, the lands belonging to which are marked off by a marvellous kind of boundary. For although Africa was the mother and nurse of wild animals, particularly serpents, yet not one is ever born in the lands of that town, and if ever one is imported and put there, it dies at once. And not only this, but if soil is taken from this spot to another place, the same is true there. It is said that this kind of soil is also found in the Balearic Islands. The above mentioned soil has a still more wonderful property, of which I have learned in the following way. 25. Caius Julius, Massinissa's son, who owned all the lands about that town, served with Caesar the father. He was once my guest. Hence, in our daily intercourse we naturally talked of literary subjects. During a conversation between us on the efficacy of water and its qualities, he stated that there were springs in that country of a kind which caused people born there to have fine singing voices, and that consequently they always sent abroad and bought handsome lads and ripe girls and mated them, so that their progeny might have not only fine voices but also beautiful forms. 26. This great variety in different things is a distribution due to nature, for even the human body, which consists in part of the earthy, contains many kinds of juices, such as blood, milk, sweat, urine, and tears. If all this variation of flavours is found in a small portion of the earthy, we should not be surprised to find in the great earth itself countless varieties of juices, through the veins in which the water runs, and become saturated with them before reaching the outlets of springs. In this way different varieties of springs of peculiar kinds are produced, on account of diversity